So breaking news, yet another quarterback signs a contract today. First Derek Carr, and now the Seattle Seahawks signed Geno Smith, who, obviously was there last year, has this breakout season, kind of his first year. He's really been great, but he was very good this year. It's a 3-year deal for $105 million. So that's $35 million a year for all you math fans out there for 3 years. I've yet to see how much is guaranteed or not, but the reality is, if this, you're signing this contract because you want it to work. So that's what you're expecting to pay him is $35 million a year, which is not terrible, and it probably, we're kind of seeing these maybe mid quarterback contracts at this point. This is what a mid quarterback contract is $35 million a year, which, we saw Carr get something similar. It's a bit much, and there's a clear upside and a clear downside to this. Let's start negative, why don't we? Let's start with the downside. The downside is, and this is something that, I'm a believer in, the way that you typically win a Super Bowl is by having a quarterback on a rookie deal or having a quarterback who's playing elite in the NFL. Maybe not with the 2000 Ravens, but in today's NFL, that tends to be the way that you have success, is have those one of those two things, if not both of those two things. If you look at the 4 teams in the conference championship this year, all 4 of them had, checked off that box. They either had an elite quarterback or a quarterback on a rookie deal, or in 2 of those cases, the Eagles and the Bengals, you could argue they had both. And then, the only quarterback who wasn't on a rookie deal was Patrick Mahomes, who, was the best quarterback in football last year. So that's typically how you get far into the playoffs. And, one thing that I feel like I've said with Geno Smith is he reminds me a lot of Ryan Tannehill, another guy who kind of got it all together when he was later into his career. But once he got it all together, he looked good. He was a good quarterback. The Titans paid him decent money to be a starter, and he's not. He hasn't been a bad player for them. He hasn't been an anchor or anything like that. But given his contract, it's kind of hard to win. The only real way that you can win with a quarterback who's good but not great tends to be if they're in a perfect situation, right? Like maybe like a Jimmy Garoppolo would be a good example of what you're trying to do here with Geno Smith. Of Garoppolo didn't win a Super Bowl. You could argue it was his reason they didn't win a Super Bowl, but they came very close to winning a Super Bowl. But that team was absolutely loaded around him. The Seahawks now might have to figure out a way to get a team loaded around Geno Smith, or there's the other side. The other side is you don't necessarily need to be an elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl. You need to play elite come postseason time. Joe Flacco was a big reason the Ravens won a Super Bowl. He is not an elite quarterback, despite what I might say when I'm joking around. He is not an elite quarterback, but he was elite that postseason run. And for Geno Smith, is it crazy to think that he could do something like that? No, it's not crazy to think. Now, am I going to bet on it happening? That answer is no. You typically don't bet on it happening. But again, Geno Smith is a weird case study. We only have 1 year sample size of this Geno Smith. We have a big sample size of Geno Smith not being a great quarterback, but in this situation, he has been very good, and I'm willing to believe, I do think it's because he legitimately got better. I would be surprised if Geno Smith went from this guy back to being old Geno Smith and not being able to play well. I'd be very surprised if that happens. I think it's a safe bet to expect top 10 quarterback play for the next 3 years with this, in this situation. I don't think that's crazy to say whatsoever. But again, if you're going to try to win a Super Bowl, is this how you do it? Typically, no. And that's just where the discussion comes in. But I'm sure Seahawks fans are going to say, you know what? We made the playoffs last year. We want to make the playoffs again. Making the playoffs is fun, and that, and on that side of the coin, it's true that having a quarterback who can just do the little things right, and listen, he's a playmaker. He can make plays. He wasn't just someone who was dinking and dunking all over the place. He did legitimately make plays, and getting someone like that is going to help them continue to win enough to make the playoffs and things like that. So that's another reason why it's interesting for me. And again, what are you going to do? Are you going to let him walk? I would have thought that, this could have been, again, Could you have found a way to franchise tag him? I'm not sure if there was some clause in his contract saying you can't do that, but that feels like the move in this situation of see if you can get a bigger sample size here. I don't know, but you are paying him less money now than if you were to franchise tag him. So maybe that's, if you're trying to be competitive this year, maybe this is how you do it. But the reality is for Seattle, okay, this is where you are now. You're the Geno Smith Seattle Seahawks. You know what you have to do. You have talent on offense. Your offense is good. You don't really have to change too much there, especially with 2 rookie tackles that you assume should get better. Maybe you could get a third receiver. I wouldn't hate that. But again, there's more things they could kind of add to make it better, whereas the defense was at times a mess last year. And that's really where I think it's going to come down to for Seattle is can they fix their defense? And if they can, then they will be looking pretty good. And again, it's just an interesting situation, but as a whole, is it the contract I would have signed? I don't know. Is it a fun contract? Sure. If I'm a Seahawks fan, am I happy that my team signed his contract? Absolutely. You don't want to let him walk. I get it. I understand it. Very interesting stuff, though. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. Of course, as always, thanks for watching.